Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's BA session on the benefits of business analysis. And once again, I'm really pleased to be joined by some excellent guests who are going to answer some questions and have a conversation with me on this very topic. Okay. The first question we're going to start with today is really what are the benefits of business analysis? But before we get into that, I'd like just to ask my guests if they can introduce themselves. Brian, if I could start with you with an introduction, please.
No problem. Thanks so much for the invite. I think to keep it nice and simple, my name is Ryan Folster. I don't like to introduce myself, so the only thing I'll say is I'm a business analyst, and that is all that is really important from my side.
Brilliant. Thank you, Ryan. And Mellius, same to you, please.
Yeah, thanks for the invite, John. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Mellius Brouwer from the Netherlands. I'm a senior business analyst and an entrepreneur. What I do, I effectively help businesses to improve their processes, but also their organization and their products. I do this with a kind of not so traditional approach, but with a business analysis as a service approach. So I serve like different clients and all at the same time and with different customizations.
Excellent. So you, like the other guests, would be perfectly placed to talk about the benefits of business analysis. That's for sure, Mellius. Thank you. And then Linda, you next, please.
Hi, I'm Linda Parker. I'm based in Edinburgh in Scotland. I'm a senior business analyst currently contracting with Scottish Government, and I just get involved in all things business analysis related. I've been involved in IIBA and currently involved in BA Live.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Linda. And last but not least, James.
Hey everyone, my name is James Dean. I'm a business analyst. I'm based in Dublin, Ireland. I've been a business analyst for about 7 years, and I'm currently working in the industry. I'm also the president of IIBA Ireland chapter. It's great to be here.
Thank you, James. And thank you again, everybody, for joining. Ryan, I'll start with you on the first question, if I may. So, would you mind just sharing your view on the benefits of business analysis, please?
So yeah, I mean, I love getting this question. I have been asked it before, and I have a nice prepared answer for it. And it goes a little something like this. The question, I like to rephrase it, because is it about the benefit of business analysis, or is it about the benefit of good business analysis? And I think there's a very big difference between the two. You know, if you're in a company, you have a BA and they're not a great BA and they're not doing the right, they can be detrimental to what a business analyst should do. So it can place quite a conundrum in answering that question. But when business analysis is done and it's done well, it simply is there to ensure that there's better business outcomes, and that's it. A good BA will simplify things. The word business analysis or analysis means to break down, and that's a really good BA takes something that's incredibly complex and simplifies it so that it is easy to understand, easy for teams that need to build, easy for business to comprehend, and to break those really complex things down so that we get better business outcomes. So ultimately, it has to be about getting that value in there and getting those things, and ensuring that we're doing it in a good, simple way that achieves that. So yeah, those are my thoughts.
Excellent. Thank you, Ryan. Mellius, can I ask you the same question, please?
Yeah, to add on that, if you break it down, basically the business analyst doesn't really have a monopoly on business analysis, right? So everyone in the project or in the company is doing business analysis. And yeah, there's a lot of things that are very beneficial, like, for example, sharp insights, you're getting better communication, connecting business and IT and other stakeholders. And I totally agree with you, Ryan. It's really about the outcome, so the added value for the end customer. I think that's key. And I totally agree.
Excellent. I'm sure there'll be a question or two later around the outcome as well. So excellent start. Thank you, Mellius. Linda.
I agree with what's been said before. I would just add that I think what the added benefits of a good BA is the softer skills that they bring to all of these aspects of business. So the calmness that you expect from a BA, the emotional intelligence, their kind of ability to ask questions, that's the kind of central point of a BA, really. And how they bring all of that together, how they put people at their ease, how they help build rapport. Because without all of these softer elements that we know and love from BAs, you can't build all of those project expertise. You can't articulate requirements. You can't gather requirements. You can't understand goals. You can't deal with stakeholders. You need all of those softer elements to kind of build those out. That's what is the standout things for business analysts.
Yeah, excellent point. And it's nice that that we talk about not just the technicalities and the techniques of business analysis, but it is very much, as you said, bringing those softer side, incorporating it with your more technical business and domain knowledge in order to do many of the things we're talking about now, or we will talk about later. So thank you, Linda and James.
Yeah, I agree with everyone. I think as well to add, I think it's important that when any BA is kind of working, they're looking at the engagement aspect and they're trying to understand like how does it impact the user, or what are the different things that people do today. And if you have a project or like a business problem that you're trying to understand, you're trying to see what is the bigger picture view of that. So processes, technology, and the users, even stakeholders. So that's really important for us to understand, because that helps us define our requirements. It helps us understand, okay, what is the bigger picture view, so we can see where can we start, and then start to break down that with the like active communication and collaboration across stakeholders. And that's what I find really kind of useful for me when I'm working with any kind of different BAs, or even on any project, that I have that kind of engagement approach, and we care about people. We want to help them solve the problem. Where some people might have a mindset where they jump to solution mode, we don't do that. We try to understand what is the underlying problem, to then start to kind of work with those people to come up with a solution.
I think certainly from my experience, I think, James, that there's a lot of times where we're introduced to a situation and it's not really clear as to the context of that situation, or why we're talking about it, why it's a priority. And I think the business analyst is very good at being that bridge between the people that have the understanding of the situation, the needs, those that are able to bring the solutions perhaps as well, and being able to give that wider transparency and share the knowledge across a number of different and quite varied stakeholders as well. So certainly I think one of the big benefits for me is being able to provide that transparency, paint that big picture, I think, which you recognise there, so that there's a lot more informed thinking about the solutions that we go forward with as well. And I'm sure, yeah. Sorry, James. I'm sure we could.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm sure we could talk about like very specific benefits for hours, quite frankly, and everybody will probably focus in on a few of the different things, but certainly those softer skills, the collaboration, the looking at the big picture, bringing things together, thinking about the outcome, breaking stuff down. They're all really key components that the BA mindset and skill set is very adept at doing, which perhaps other roles are not all. It's not really about people, it's more about the roles, but more other roles, they have a slightly different focus on the situation, I would suggest.
Yeah, and I think we're trying to use as well like business terminology. Like we're not looking at the technical terminology, because like my experience working in the energy industry, a lot of the problems that come, they're in technical language, and then I need to kind of figure out, okay, what is the business impact? Like how does that impact the business? And then what is the business need? Like what are we actually trying to solve? What's the value there? Who is impacted? And before we can kind of even start to brainstorm like solution options, we need to understand the business need first. So if it's not understood from a business point of view and it's in a technical perspective, then it makes us difficult to do our job. So that's a true value that a good BA can be able to take something as like a one-liner and be able to break it down to bring it back to the perspective of a business in terminology.
It feels like that's introducing an element of what Ryan said a moment ago in terms of breaking things down. So before you go too far, try and understand what is the problem you're trying to solve, maybe get even deeper into that problem before you even talk about what the requirements are. It takes us actually into, I mean, we've got, obviously, we've shared some views on what the benefits of business analysis are. I'd be interested to know, Mellius, perhaps, how you might have communicated the benefits of business analysis to your stakeholders or clients in the past.
Yeah, interesting question. You know, a lot of people, they are like problem unaware. So they don't really know that business analysis is the solution they need. So I think a big challenge for all of us is that we communicate what business analysis is, what are the benefits. That's also the reason why I'm in the school, because I think this is really key. So what I'm doing, I'm posting on LinkedIn 2 times a week about the benefits of business analysis and also about the problems we are solving as a business analyst. But also in many meetings with clients, if I have a workshop or a call, or I show them the value. And also sometimes some other role in a meeting, they are also adding value in the meeting, and they don't know it's business analysis. And sometimes I point out what you are doing now is also business analysis, and that's really really nice. And then it opens their eyes, you know, that I also are doing the same job as we are doing, because that's of course the best.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Linda, I appreciate your perspective on that as well, please.
Yeah, I think it's interesting what Mellius has said. I kind of agree on some of the things. I think a lot of what we do and how we communicate as business analysts, our benefits, are quite stealth-like. So we sort of go into organizations and we just get on with what we're doing. And someone will say, well, that's a good piece of strategy work, or that's good requirements analysis, or good process modeling, or you might have someone that just says, well, that's a good piece of work. Who did that, or how did that come about? And then they'll get told, well, a business analyst did that, and suddenly they'll say, I didn't even know that was a thing. And suddenly then you explain what BA does and how that came about. Or you might be running a workshop with a group of stakeholders to help elicit requirements or help them understand what their business problem is. These are the things that James has alluded to. And then they'll say, well, you know, I didn't even know there was a role that did that kind of thing. And suddenly you're in the realms of, well, actually, there is a role for that, and there's a profession that does these kind of things, and it's a BA. But actually, there's a bit of BA in a number of different people. There are subject matter experts who can do this kind of things. There are POs, the product owners who do this kind of thing. There's an element of this role in all sorts of things. But you know, there are professions that do that, but we kind of are not good at promoting ourselves. We just sort of go into companies and do it by stealth, really, by doing a good job. And then managers say, well, hold on, there are these great teams of people that are doing a great job for us. I was at, I think it was the Business Analysis European Conference about just before lockdown. I try and think of things before and post lockdown, like many people. And there was actually a massive company director there. He was pretty high up in the organization. And he said that rather than having a PA on his side, he had a business analyst next to him all the time, went round with him wherever he went in the organization, because that was the person who always listened and understood what the problem was and got to grips with requirements and stuff for him, so that he had a better insight about his own organization. And I thought that was great, because he understood what a BA does and how they work. And I think that was a great kind of just confirmation that we are who we are, and we're great at what we do. So but otherwise it's that stealth mode.
I think that's right. And I think because we're so in that habit of representing the stakeholder views from whatever perspective they are, that actually most of the time, in fact almost all the time, what we're presenting isn't our own opinion on the topic as such. It's more an amalgamation of the opinions that we've collated through our analysis or through investigation, that therefore we do tend to take a back seat and let the analysis try and speak for itself. But perhaps in these situations where you're trying to demonstrate the benefits of a profession, standing forward a little bit and telling a few more people is definitely beneficial. And I like the idea of having a champion that you're working with who is, or someone who's championing the profession that you're working with, because hopefully they might ask a few questions. Who's that you're with, Linda? And so, well, this is my BA colleague, you know.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's an element of, because probably the calming nature of BAs and the fact that we're just that tend to be in that background nature, that we feel comfortable in that space. We're not sort of, we don't tend to be in the forefront of the limelight, and if we were, we wouldn't be able to do our jobs. So it makes us feel comfortable in that space, which means when it comes to just shouting about what we do, we're not great at that. No, I haven't really come across many BAs that are great at that. So we shy away a bit from the limelight, but you find that BAs are good at being in the background, just getting on with stuff. And so magically this information appears, this great analysis appears for different companies, but there is someone beavering away in the background actually doing it. So
that's it.
We just need
John,
to be more forthright about selling ourselves.
Yeah, I'd love to weigh in on that, because I've got maybe a slightly different view on it. In my way of thinking, I mean, I don't think there's one person in my team that would describe me as calming. And I think there's different types of people that are right for different approaches. And I definitely think the way to sell business analysis is to show what you do. So if I came here and I told you all I'm a great chef and I can make the most amazing food, you'll go, okay, yeah, that's nice. But if I make you a meal and it's good, it really shows what you do. And it's very difficult in an organization to be like, I don't want to tell you what I do. I want to show you what I do. Just hold on, and it'll come in a couple of months. You'll start to see the benefits, because the benefits are not always right there, right then. It takes a while for a product, if you do developing product to be released, for to market, for those stats to come back, for to increase the financials of the business. But I wonder if BAs don't often take a quieter step in a room. And I mean, yes, they're doing a lot of valuable work, but I wonder if it's not time to have a bit of a louder voice in that room, and realize that if a business stakeholder comes to you and they say, no, you must do this, and this is the requirement, just articulate it for me and write it and give it to the development team to develop. I think a good BA is the guy that says, sorry, that's not going to work, and introduces. I want to be straight away from the word, but almost conflict, because I think in many instances conflict is good. Healthy conflict, i.e. disagreements, asking questions. I mean, I've been into a place before where I ask a question 10 times and eventually people are like, stop asking questions. And I say, well, that's my job. My job is to ask and understand, and not just go, because you think it should be this way, I'm going to go do it this way. I'm going to ask and understand. But having said all of that, there's the other side that you've got to be careful of. At one point, you're not the boss. So we don't have power in that you can make the decision and go, yeah, we'll go with this. You influence, but you don't necessarily have that power. And there is a point where it comes that the stakeholders adamant. They say, no, this is the way we're going to do it. And then your job is to say, okay, I'm not going to disagree. I've given my opinion. I've given my research and my insights into that. But yeah, I mean, basically what I'm getting to there is show why business analysis is needed. Don't talk about it, show it, essentially.
I think I agree with that, Ryan. I mean, when I say that we act on stealth, I don't mean that we agree with whoever's making demands. You still have to stand up and do the analysis and ask the right questions. You just don't follow what you're told. Our job is to analyze, to ask questions, to get to the right what the analysis is telling us is the right conclusion. So that means that if that means you have to fight back to someone who's just demanding this is the way you do it, and we say that's not the right way to do it, then you have to fight back on that. But quite often we're doing that without people necessarily knowing that the role of the analyst is the role that is performing that task.
Oh,
So,
no,
but I also agree that we need to get out there and say, we're analysts and this is what we do, particularly as there's a lot of pushback these days on, do we need business analysis anymore? And obviously all of us on this call would say, yeah, we prove every day that you need it.
Yeah,
it
and
shows
I believe.
I was
Sorry, go.
just going to say, Ryan, it shows that there's some there's different ways that we can challenge or resolve conflicts or provide opinion or ask questions to encourage others to share their view or to think a little bit differently. And I think quite often just by asking the right question or by asking for somebody to reconsider, or is that what's the evidence you have to support that, or does anyone else have that similar view, or what would happen if that sort of challenge, it can all sort of start the other stakeholders thinking about the situation potentially slightly differently. It's always useful.
What Linda said actually resonated with me there a little bit. So I feel like sometimes even in these conversations, it's like the tip of the iceberg that you're seeing in the meeting, and there's all the stuff that's happened behind. There's conflict that's happened. I'm often on a meeting and on WhatsApp on the other side, on Teams calls on the other side with different stakeholders trying to bring information forward so that I can, and we bring that area of calmness to the forefront where there's a lot of chaos in the background. And I feel like that is a very, and that is often not seen. It's stuff that it's in the background. You've got those relationships, you've got those business users that you speak to, and you're bringing that calmness in. So yeah, I do agree with that a lot.
So,
if I may conclude this part a little bit, I think it really triggers me, all your insights you're sharing. Like Ryan, you were saying, the BA is not a boss. I agree, but the BA is a leader. And sometimes you have to stand back a little bit behind the team and be quiet, and there's nothing wrong with it. But in other options, you have to go step in front as a BA. And I think if you are able to mix this in practice, I think it's really very big added value for all BAs if we can all do this.
Oh, I love that comment. Sure.
And I guess James, through like organisations such as the IIBA and training that you introduce and sessions bring people together, this is another way for people to appreciate different ways to communicate the benefits, or maybe even reuse content that the IIBA produce in that regard.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of what we try to do within the IIBA Ireland chapter. So because like the BABA guides, I'm sure you're all aware, it's kind of like 500 plus pages. It's very kind of overwhelming for like an aspiring or a junior business analyst to even get kind of started, and they kind of don't really know where to start, what the terminology is, what they need to know to be, let's say, to start as a BA. So we want to bring in kind of like real world scenarios where you can take the knowledge from the BABAC and you can apply it to these scenarios, so you can see kind of real world how a BA would work in different kind of contexts, in different types of projects, the different kind of things that they might come across, like how do they manage conflict between stakeholders. I would say as well, just to kind of chime in on the other points there, I feel by empowering, like if there is a solution that has been defined by, let's say, a senior leader, and we believe as BAs that that's not the right solution, a lot of the time we're kind of like disregarded. It's kind of like, oh, you're the BA. But if we empower our end users or the people who are going to use that solution to kind of have that argument or that negotiation with those senior leaders by giving them the kind of the relevant data or kind of information that they need, it enables us to show kind of the value of our role within an organization.
Sometimes it's really the structure that maybe the end users might lack, or the ability to communicate to a broader audience. And by the conversations we're having, and we're talking to different stakeholders, some of which have never met, but they share the same perspective and they have the same needs, we can present this together, and people will appreciate actually that there are benefits to be had, and that we're bringing people together a lot more than perhaps we wouldn't if there was no BA role in place, I would say.
Yeah,
I mean,
we're guiding the stakeholders through an initiative, and we're doing it in a leadership kind of aspect, but we're not the leader of the project, but we're the leader of our requirements, and we're making sure that the solution that will be delivered to solve the problem is going to be valuable. It can be used. It is going to bring value not only to the end user, but also to the business. So it will meet like the business objectives or the success metrics that we've kind of defined. If we're not defining those things, then how do we measure success? How do we prove that we have kind of done our job on that project? Because we could be doing all of our different techniques, we're talking to these different people, we're modeling our processes, but at the end of the day, it's about how we deliver that solution and how we evaluate if it actually was successful. Because if we can't measure that, then it's hard to measure our success as a BA.
That's right. Yeah. And there's many ways, of course, of communicating the benefits. I mean, from doing, from LinkedIn and external sources as well. But really, maybe the advice I would generally share is that BAs can take every opportunity to share the benefits of business analysis through sometimes the small things, but sometimes through the bigger things that they're doing as well. Try and not just tell the story of the output and the requirement as an example, but how that requirement evolved and how you brought individuals and process and understanding together that wasn't there before. And you've been able to present a tangible, data-driven outcome, and which is often something that wouldn't have been in place without the BA being involved. It leads nicely as well, I think, onto, I mean, we've sort of started touching onto it already, but in terms of how we can better communicate the benefits of business analysis without simplifying it. It seems like certainly we can do a lot more of all the things we've said already, a lot more of taking that stand out of the shadow, as it were, and sharing the benefits of what we've been doing and why we do things as well. But it'd be interesting to know, perhaps again, James, if I'll start with you, really, if you think there is anything further we can do to communicate the benefits of business analysis, both within our project, but more broadly as well.
I think so if you're working as a business analyst within a company or an organization, I think for me, I find kind of knowing if you're on the right track or if you're actually delivering value within the people that you work with is by asking feedback. So just by asking kind of different people like, oh, hey, kind of what did you think of this technique that I used? Did you think like it actually helped you understand like how you work today? Or did you find this kind of visualization of the different kind of lineage between business requirements, solution requirements, stakeholder transition? Did you find that kind of useful? Did it help you define scope? These kind of questions, by asking the right kind of questions to the right people at the right time, it might give you that feedback that will say, okay, yeah, like there's some feedback that I've got is like, oh, people find my kind of workshops or kind of sessions that I arrange to be fun because they're not just like a session where you just join and you're just talking about things. We actually make it into a working meeting. So if we're trying to understand like a particular process, how that works, at the end of that workshop, we have an output of a process model that we've kind of modeled together. And we've gone through different scenarios and we've gone through the inputs, the outputs, the business rules, all the kind of main things, who's involved. But it gives us something then to work with. So they seen that as valuable because they're not having these constant calls where some senior leaders will have constantly 3 or 4 calls and they're talking about the same thing. They're going around in circles. I would say the second thing would be we need to share more of our kind of successes, whether they're like big wins or quick wins. I feel like we're not kind of throwing it out there that we're, without being kind of sharing too much confidential information for a specific project, but we should be more kind of sharing our success as BAs. And that's actually a campaign that we're looking to do within the Ireland chapter. So we want different people who are working as business analyst professionals to show how they have delivered success or how they have these kind of success stories that they're looking to share and what was their approach when they were working on a particular problem. How did they go about working on that problem? What kind of solution was realized and what value did that bring not only to them, but also to the company? So if there's any BAs here that want to get involved, please reach out to me. But I would say those are the 2 things that I can think of off the top of my head.
Brilliant. Thank you, James. Mellius, do you have a view on that?
Yes, I was struggling with this like of last weeks because for corporates or very large organizations, it's very obvious that you have to invest in business analysis, right? But for me, my challenge is more about how do you communicate the benefits of business analysis towards small businesses or medium-sized businesses. Because a lot of times when I talk with them, they don't really know what a business analyst is doing, or what is business analysis. So I was struggling with this in my mind, and I asked also for feedback with other entrepreneurs about this. And I think what really helps in communicating is to use an archetype. So an archetype, I don't know if I pronounce it correctly in English, but it's like, what is the role of a business analyst? Is it like a navigator, or is like, are we like a doctor who is fixing a patient, making them better? What are we? And for me, what really worked is like a pilot harbor. There's a person who, for example, if you come with your ship towards the port of Rotterdam from all the way from Panama, and you arrive there, the business analyst is basically jumping on board of the ship and then navigating the whole ship through the harbor into the point where you want to be. And then the business analyst is leaving again. And basically, I think that really helps if you talk like that. And then
I agree. I think using those different archetypes and comparisons can really help it resonate, can't it, really? Because I often sometimes refer to it as a translator, translating information between certain people who speak in a certain way or have a certain understanding to those who might not understand the information in that similar way. But by having those examples, archetypes, as you put it, Mellius, it can definitely help people understand, because they're maybe not aware of a business analyst, but they're certainly aware of a translator as an example.
Yeah, I agree.
Or harbour master, another example. Ryan.
Yeah, I mean that's a really interesting one. I'm going to borrow the previous analogy on the ship and the Panama one. I think it's quite a good one. I think I often say, and if I say to a room of BAs, they all look at you like you're mad, is that a BA in reality can't deliver anything. And you kind of have to think about that for a while, because I can't give a user requirements document, a spec, a user story to an end user. It's a means to an end. And in that exact example with the ship, the BA gets in the ship. Business don't care about the BA that's been on the ship. What business cares? The ship got to the other side. The value that business analysis brings to that is we stop the ship veering off course. We save money in doing so. So it's not just about getting to the other side. It's about getting there safely, no crashes, no. And that's the role of a BA in my mind. And it's quite difficult, because you kind of need to get out of that mindset that, here's my requirement spec and I did it well. My acceptance criteria perfectly written. I used all the right wording, spot on, everything's perfect. But if the tester fails, it's a problem. If the developer fails, it's a problem. All of those things, a developer is the only one that can really put it out there. And then if you even go beyond that, if change management fails, if you build a really good thing but no one knows about it, that doesn't help. So getting out of that mindset that you offer value in isolation is quite key to communicating the value. Being able to show how you made sure that the value, which is all the business really cares about, is that end goal, how that was achieved, and how your bit of that ensured that it was achieved in a much better way. And it's a difficult thing to do, because how do you communicate that? Business goes, well, I got what I wanted. And you sit there and saying, well, if I weren't here, you wouldn't have got it in quite the way that you maybe expected it. Might not have had the same business outcomes. It's just very difficult to articulate. And it's usually someone else getting the credit for all the steering that you're doing in it, if that makes any sense.
It totally does. It makes me think of like when you've got a car production line, and it's the equivalent of, you can't give the credit to the last person who puts the badge on the car, because there's been maybe 100 people in that case who've been doing little parts that have all contributed to it, and without the car, none of them have succeeded. But it's a really, really important point to make sure that BAs are not just thinking about just their own deliverables, but thinking about it in the context of the overall delivery.
you know, I call it product thinking. Think of a product as a holistic thing. And I think, again, to harp on the change management one, so many times there have been solutions, we look at them and they are absolutely amazing, well designed, well built. They do, I mean, they're slick. Everything's great. The UI is great, but they failed to land. And there's always a reason for that. And that could be because change management didn't happen. No one was introduced to the product, or potentially we missed the market. Things that work in one market don't work in another market. We've had there's countless examples of businesses and capabilities that do really well in, like in Africa, for example. We've had businesses that are thriving in one place. You move that business to another country and it fails, and you wonder how. And again, it's that's where good business analysis comes in. We don't, I think Linda might have said it, or James, I can't remember exactly. We ask questions. We don't just go and say, okay, cool, we'll move this product to the next region. We ask those questions, you know, we try and understand why they want to do that before we move forward. So I think all of those things really play in how we communicate what we do.
Absolutely. Linda?
I think I like a lot of what Ryan said. I mean, I think BAs, they don't inherently deliver anything of value on their own. They work well. They've always worked well as part of a team, but quite often they can find themselves as the linchpin for that team, pulling lots of strands together. And I think that's where we add an awful lot of value. And I think to help kind of promote themselves within organizations, maybe the secret lies within teams, not just teams of BAs, but teams of other people as well. So because they can help infiltrate lots of different areas. A good way to kind of help do some of the things that even James has said, like the feedback, showcasing and all of that, is to build up a kind of BA, a core BA group. So you have a BA group that you then can fight that fight with that whole group together, so that you can set out showcases for the whole organization amongst that group of BAs. You can gather feedback from all sorts of different areas of the organization through that core. Then you're not kind of one single BA on your own. That feedback comes in as a group. But equally, if you do things like set up a profile for each of the BAs within that core group of BAs, then everyone within the organization who needs a BA understands the profile of each of the BAs. So you're promoting each individual BA, but you're promoting the whole group of BAs across that whole organization. Now, it's quite difficult if it's a massive corporation. You might have to have satellite groups of BAs, but it's still quite key to have that tight-knit group so that they've got each other for support, but they're also individuals within that. But it helps kind of promote the whole core. And then you can put on big showcases, small showcases, just to help promote. But then you can join forces with other areas as well. So whether that's UX or POs, or if you're a multifunctional team, the BA within that multifunctional team only works as well as everyone else in the team. So you all support each other to help produce a quality product. And those areas where you can promote within that team structure are always great, because you've got shared support within that functioning team.
That's right. So taking those different opportunities then to try and promote what the team are doing, the ways of working, the benefits of business analysis. I mean, as you were talking there, I mean, I was definitely agreeing that, you know, bringing wider teams together, not just the BAs, to help them understand the benefits, but that can extend, of course, to clients and wider stakeholders. You know, inviting them to come along to you know, BA community events. I'm hoping, James, as an example, that IIBA don't exclusively just have business analysts attending events. I would imagine it's project managers and others, and hopefully even client stakeholders who can appreciate through those forums and through wider engagement of the benefit. I mean, we've even been doing something at Capco for a while, actually, where you know, we would attend like town halls, account town halls, client town halls, and talk about, you know, a particular situation, talk about the analysis, how it achieved the value, some of the processes we went through, how we brought some stakeholders and key concepts together, just to give people more awareness of actually what business analysis is through a more a real life scenario and a case study.
Yeah, I mean, going back to something James mentioned earlier about empowering your end users to come forward, one of the most successful projects that I've been on was a multifunctional team, but working very closely with myself as a BA and a UXer, going out and actually approaching not just end users within the organization, but citizens, and getting them to talk to us about what they wanted from a web service. The two of us working together was so completely powerful. When we brought that information back into a multifunctional team, it actually gave us so many insights into what they would want and how they would work. And that's not just the BA, that's then UX, that's then developers, that's then a product owner, that's testers. It's a whole mini team working in unison to fulfill the needs, starting with the end user. So it's a total outside in approach, but it's developing that whole sort of team activity. So it's powerful stuff.
Yeah. And while I know none of us have been talking exclusively about particular levels of experience of a business analyst, definitely be useful to get a view, perhaps starting with you, Linda, actually, in terms of you know, if a junior business analyst is just starting life as a BA or on a project, would you have any advice to them as to how they can demonstrate the value or the benefits of business analysis through their own endeavours?
I think the key things with juniors is to firstly, it's good to kind of come on board and start to listen and learn from maybe suppose more experienced, but also still practice what we've all said on this call, is ask questions of that more experienced BA as well. Don't just take it that they know everything, because the one thing you learn as a BA is that every day is a school day. You're learning all the time. And I remember in my previous role, I had a junior BA, and I think the thing that was so great about him and also mentoring is that I've learned as much from everyone as I've given, which has been terrific. But I think keep asking questions, and the way that they can give back is to, like I think James has said, is ask for feedback and try and promote what they're learning every day. So give back by showcasing what they feel they're learning as well.
And the pleasing thing for any junior BAs is that what you pointed out there definitely isn't something they detach themselves from as they progress. And in fact, you know, as you more senior you get as a BA, you still want to be asking the same sort of questions that you might have, or some of the same questions you would have asked anyway as a junior BA. You know, when you don't understand something or new to a concept, innocent questions. What is that? What are you trying to achieve? What's the benefit? Who is that person? What's their role? You know, these are all questions that, irrespective of level, we should ask. But junior BA should absolutely not be afraid to ask them if they don't know the answer.
Yeah, I just on the junior and senior thing. So for me, there's I always play with this thing about the art and the craft of business analysis, and I think both are really important. You get people who know their art well and who know their craft well, and to me, the craft is your core skills. Like, can you do a user acceptance criteria? Can you do an ERD diagram? You know, can you build those really hardcore technical skills? And as a junior BA, I feel like you need to be really solid on that. But you also need the craft side. And I think the craft side comes with experience, comes with time, comes with, you know, mentoring. So find a mentor, find someone that can help guide you there. Because right now, I mean, I don't know when I would have used some of the more the hardcore techniques. But if I'm ever shown it, I know straight away what it is. And I think you need a balance of both, because you get guys that can talk, that can and then it comes down to the actual the craft side, and they're sort of lacking. So I feel like you need to make sure that both are there. But as a junior, you maybe need to focus more on getting your craft really right, that you can read and you can understand and you can articulate. That craft, and you'll get a guy that's been doing it for 30 years that'll walk in and won't have one drawing and will just know exactly what's going on and know how to handle a situation, and they'll solve it in 5 minutes. That comes with experience and with time. Yeah.
Great. Mellius.
Yeah, also the benefit of being junior is that you still have a very fresh look. So what I always notice is that the juniors always ask a lot of questions and think they don't have any added value in meetings or in a project, but they really have. And because they have fresh looks, they have a different view. So that's really key and important to also to add. And I think also for the senior people also in the room, they also have to put them sometimes on the spot. So ask them questions. So what's your opinion about this matter? And then you don't be afraid to share your view. I think that's very key for a lot of junior BAs.
Excellent advice. It makes me think, Mellius, that actually, if you're in the room with the junior BAs, even if they're not particularly experienced in a particular topic, it's very nice for the more senior BAs to say, what's your opinion? Did that make sense to you? Was there more you'd like to know? I think what you just said there in trying to introduce them a bit more would be some excellent advice for those managing BAs as well.
Agree. Yeah.
And Brian, over to you. Or was it Linda? Apologies.
Linda.
Linda, sorry.
It might have been James.
Oh, to me. Yeah, I think to add to that as well, I think it's important for a junior to understand the fundamentals of business analysis. So again, like the key concepts, how to even work with people on a project, like what type of people you might come across, or stakeholders as we call them. So what are those different stakeholders? What is their role? Kind of how do they work on the project? What might you have to do in terms of your role? So like clarifying and understanding of your role, because as we get more, well, I feel with my experience, the more I'm put onto projects, I need to get a really clear understanding of what my role will be, because it's not always the same on each type of project. So it's really important to kind of understand what your role is and how you're going to contribute to that project, and kind of any specific kind of tasks you might be kind of allocated, or if there's any like templates that you might need to be aware of. If you start kind of looking at them to see, okay, what is this about, like business requirements document or a functional requirements document or a use case document, any of those kind of things, you mightn't be specifically writing them, but I think it's good to get an understanding that, hey, companies use these type of templates, and this is kind of how they use them. So by having that kind of knowledge as well, just kind of reaching out to people to see how they work even within the company. So you're trying to understand the business as a whole. You're trying to understand the different things that the business might do. You mightn't go into like the vision and the mission or the strategy, because that's probably more a senior thing. But if you get a kind of grasp at, okay, yeah, this is what the type of company that I'm working in, this is kind of what they do in general, it should make it easier to work on those type of projects, because you're always like, okay, how does this project align back to the goal of the company or what the company is trying to do? So that's what I would say.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think to probably end on the topic, and actually on this BAInsights itself, I think my advice to junior BAs is, look out, watch your peers, observe them, see how they're going about communicating. Look outside as well, because I know each of you are posting regularly on LinkedIn, and more broadly, have a look at who's posting what around communication and how it benefits and how you can grow. And of course, there are bodies like the IIBA, the BCS, and others where junior BAs can learn a little bit more about their craft, as we put it. So I think we've covered quite a lot actually in terms of benefits of business analysis. I think to use Ryan's term earlier, I feel like it is still the tip of the iceberg, but I won't keep you for another 5 hours to explore the rest of it. What I will do though is thank you once again. Your insights and experience have been really good to listen to. I'm sure they'll be appreciated in the broader community. So once again, thank you very much, everybody, for your attendance and your insight.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Yeah.